All right, so today we're going to talk about lead magnets. Now, a lead magnet is just kind of a fancy name for a freebie. A freebie meaning you give something for free to people in exchange for their email address, right? And so you're swapping value for value as a business owner. Your email list is one of the most valuable assets that you could have or own. The reason for that is it's awesome to have a big following on Facebook or a big following on Instagram or a bunch of subscribers on YouTube, but the truth is that you don't own those platforms. And so you want to make sure that you're also building assets that you own. And your email list is something that once you have been able to collect those email addresses, you can continue to market to them over and over again. And it doesn't matter what rules Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or anybody else has in place, you're able to continue marketing to them. And so growing your email list is very, very, very important. I can't emphasize that enough. And it's something that you should be doing all the time year round. Okay. So a lot of people make the mistake of like, oh, I have a launch coming up, so I'll run some ads to grow my email list. Or, um, you know, I have some extra cash this month. And so I'll put some ads towards, growing my email list. I highly recommend that you come up with a marketing budget that works for you, that you could be running all the time. And so you're growing your email list every single day, 365 days a year. With all of the changes that are coming, we just saw how Apple, the changes that they made to iOS, it completely disrupted Facebook. It's continuing to disrupt Facebook. And this will not be the last time that something like this has happened. I think that nobody ever thought that Apple would do something like this, but they did. And we don't know what's the future holds. So it's very important for you to be growing your email list. And you should really be doing that every single day, 365 days a year, not just a big push right before you do a launch, or not just a big push once or twice a year. This is something you should do all year round. So figure out what works for your marketing budget so that you can always have ads going. You're always growing your list. And one of the things that you can use to grow your list is a lead magnet, right? And like I said, it's just something something of value that you're giving away for free in exchange for the person giving you their email address, which is extremely, extremely valuable for all the reasons I just mentioned. um, and this person, it's so valuable to get someone's email address because they've basically granted you permission to have access to them personally, right? To have access to their inbox, which is saying, I'm letting you contact me personally and directly. And so other than their email address, somebody's phone number is the next best thing, right? So this is something that, people are giving you that's very valuable to them and very valuable to you. And so in exchange, you're giving them something for free. Okay. So we're going to talk about 5 questions that you should consider when you're creating your lead magnet or your freebie, right? That you're giving in exchange. And the first thing that you're going to ask is who? Okay. Who is my audience, right? And so we're talking about gender or age, or what kind of career do they have? Are they a business owner, or are they a teacher? Where do they live? Do you only market to people who live in your area or in a certain zip code? Or can you work with people nationwide or internationally, right? And so the who question, most of you already know the answer to this. If you own a business, you already know the answer to this. Who is your audience? Who are your people? And you might know who is your audience in general. And I'm going to use myself as an example in this training today. And so I work with business owners, right, who want to use Facebook ads to grow their business, to get more leads and sales, and they want to use Facebook ads to do that. So that is who my audience is in a very broad, general sense. But if I was going to create a lead magnet, one of the things that I would need to consider is who specifically within that audience do I want to attract and get more on my list? Okay. And so here's the difference. I could create a lead magnet that attracts new people who've never done ads before. They're business owners, right? They want to use Facebook ads to grow their business. And so I could create a lead magnet that attracts people who want to know how to use Facebook ads to get more leads and sales. But also within that group are people who are already doing ads. They've been doing ads for a while. They kind of already know, kind of how it works. They just need more help. So I have kind of this broad audience of who I could work with. But what I really need to do, and what I'd encourage you to do, is look at, in terms of the lead magnet that I'm creating, or that I'm going to create, who do I actually want to attract, so that I create a lead magnet that speaks to those people. Okay. Because the lead magnet I would create to work with people who've never done ads before is a very different lead magnet that I would use if I wanted to attract people who've already been doing ads and they're struggling or they want to get better results. Okay. So when you're creating your lead magnet, you want to make sure that you know who you're making it for. Now, the second question you want to ask is what? Okay. What is the challenge that people have that you can help them with? And there's probably lots of problems or challenges that you help people with. There's probably one big overarching one, right? That's super simple. Like, I help people avoid divorce. That's very broad and general. But within that, there's lots of different things that you help them with maybe it's forgiveness, or it's better communication, or how to disagree, kindly and respectfully, how to get on the same page with parenting, whatever, right? There's all these different subcategories within the big category. So you need to decide what is the problem you're going to present a solution for in your lead magnet. And I would try to make it very specific. So I would not make a lead magnet that's like how to avoid divorce. Okay. I would create a lead magnet that is something about like how to fight fairly with your spouse, something like that. Okay. And but when you're deciding which one of those problems to use, I would recommend that you pick the problem or the challenge that is the most obvious to them, that they think, well, if I just fixed this one problem, then my marriage would be better. If I just fixed this one thing with my Facebook ads, if I could just figure out what's wrong with my ads, I could fix them, right? and and so decide what specific challenge or problem that you're going to solve for people, and make sure that it's not a problem that you know that they need to fix versus they know they need to fix. And an example of that is I have a very dear friend of mine who is doing a challenge about relationships. Okay. And she does general life coaching, but she said that 90% of her coaching calls, when people come to those calls, that they need help with is relationships. 90%. Okay. So she was like, surely people have problems with their relationships, right? So I'm going to create a challenge that's all about relationships. Well, what she realized is that she had a really hard time, getting people signed up for it. Not a hard time, but just didn't have as good of a response as she thought she would based on all the coaching she's done. And what she realized is that people don't actually think they have a relationship problem. They think that there's some other little, thing that's the problem, and that's affecting their relationships. And so to lead with that, she knows that based on when she gets on the call with people and she starts talking with them about their challenges, she realizes this is a relationship problem, but they're not necessarily walking around thinking that that's what their problem is. So make sure that when you choose what you're going to create that lead magnet for, it's the problem that they think they have, whether you know that the bigger problem is something else. Okay, so the third question you need to ask is where. Okay, and that is, where are they at in their journey to solving this problem? Okay, and people will call this like, how problem aware are they? But this is more than just being about how problem aware they are. This is about where they're at on that path to solving the problem. So an example is what I talked about earlier. The people who I could work with. If I create a lead magnet for people who've never run an ad before, then I need to be very aware of where they are on the journey, where they're just beginning, right? They don't know a lot of information. They don't know a lot of the lingo. They don't know what they don't know. And so I would want to make sure that my lead magnet speaks to those people specifically, and where they're at in their state of mind and their current state and that journey that they're on, so that I address that very specifically. Versus the other audience that I have is people who've already been doing their ads. And if I create a lead magnet that is focused on the newbie, I'm not going to attract people who've already been running ads for a while, because they have different problems, different level of understanding and knowledge. They are familiar with the lingo. Like, I'm going to talk to them very differently and create something very differently for the people who have been running ads already versus someone who never has. So it's very important for you to know where people are at on the journey, because this will impact who you attract. And when I made my very first lead magnet, my lead magnet, I don't remember the exact name, but it was something like, 5 tips to creating the perfect Facebook ad, something like that, right? Well, very quickly, what I realized, because when I have people opt in for a lead magnet, I ask them to respond and I ask them like a question. And the responses that I was getting for people were telling me like, holy smokes, I just filled my list full of a bunch of people who've never done a Facebook ad before. And that's not actually who I wanted to attract. I wanted to attract people who do ads already, and they need help getting better results and improving them, because that's who my people are. And I realized I made a huge mistake in the lead magnet that I created, with speaking to people on the wrong part of the journey. I was trying to attract people who were experienced with ads, but I created a lead magnet that was more appealing and more attractive to people who'd never done an ad before. And so I had to pivot, and I changed my lead magnet to be a scorecard where people could rank the ads that they've already run in key areas. And then it would tell them what they could improve, what they're doing great, and all those things. So a scorecard on how to rate your ads that you've been running is not going to be appealing to someone who's never even run an ad before, right? So because they're in a different journey, part of the journey. And so this is key. Okay, this is really, really, really important. And it is the difference between you building your list full of people who are never going to buy from you, and they're not on the part of the journey that you want them to be on in order to work with them and buy from you. This is a big mistake that people make. Okay. And I'm going to give you another example of a big mistake. And I've made this mistake myself. So I came up with this idea. I had seen, actually, it's not my idea. I'd seen some people talking about like, hey, you can create this amazing lead magnet where you list out like all the tools you use in your business. And, because people love tools and they want to know what softwares are you using, or what apps are you using, or what are you using in your business. And, you can put all these affiliate links in that document. And so now you've created this lead magnet that's growing your list, but you're also making money from it, right? And I was like, it's freaking genius. I'm going to do that, right? Because on the surface, it seems brilliant. So me and my assistant, we create this amazing document and we make it beautiful, and we sign up for all these affiliate links and we write all this copy. And like the day before we were getting ready to launch it, I said, hold up, hold up. This thing has nothing to do with Facebook ads. So I'm going to get a bunch of people on my list who are interested in like what kind of tools and software and apps that I use to run my business, but they might have zero interest in running Facebook ads whatsoever. And I was like, yeah, we're not using this. And so we did all this work and put in all this effort. And now we use it as like a gift to people already on my email list, is like an added value, right? So it wasn't a complete waste. But I share that with you because it's very easy to say like, oh, I'm going to create this cool thing that everybody's going to want. And then you're like, I just built my list full of people who have no interest in what I'm selling. They don't have the exact problem that I can help them with. And they're not on the part of the journey that I need them to be on in order for my offers to be appealing to them and want them, right? So if you get this one wrong, like you can get some of the other ones not perfect, but if you get the where wrong, you are going to fill your list with all the wrong people. Okay, so don't rush that section. Really take some time to look at what you're creating and make sure that it's geared to exactly the people that you're trying to attract and where they're at in that journey, right? If your audience is people who've already started their business and they need help with marketing, well, then you definitely need to make sure that you're talking to that person, versus if your audience is someone who's still in a 9-to-5 job and thinking about leaving their job, you're going to talk to those two audiences very differently. What's going to be appealing to them is very different. And so you need to get clear on that. All right. Okay. So number 4, the how. Next question you need to ask is how. And what I mean by how is how should you deliver the content in your lead magnet? And really not necessarily how you should, what I mean by deliver it is the medium that you're going to deliver the information. So is it going to be a PDF? Are you going to create a tutorial? Would a checklist be great? Or maybe a workbook? Or does it need to be a 3-part video series? Like, what is the best way for you to deliver this content to them via what medium? Okay. That's really important for you to know. And I don't have a strong opinion on which one is better or worse or whatever, but here's what it does need to be. It does need to be something that sounds valuable and that sounds awesome. Okay. So if you're like, hey, get my free PDF, like that doesn't sound fun. That doesn't sound valuable. That sounds like I don't need another PDF. So I'm not going to give you my email address for that. Right. So whatever means you choose to deliver the content, is it as important as what you call it and the value you place on it? Okay. So even if it is a PDF, could you call it a workbook? Could you call it a guide or a blueprint? People love checklists. People love templates. And so you really want to, whatever you call it, needs to imply value. Okay. And then the 5th thing that you want to consider is want. Okay. What do you want them to do next? Okay. And I tried to make all of those W's except for number 4 was a how. So I failed there. But, anyways, want. What do you want them to do next? Okay. So once they opt in, they give you their email address, they get this freebie from you. You need to make sure that you have a strong call to action in that lead magnet of what action you want them to take next. Okay. So I don't care if it is a checklist or a PDF or a video series or whatever. What do you want them to do next? Do you want them to join your free Facebook group? Then you need to put that in there and you need to put a link. Do you want them to watch a webinar? Do you want them to sign up for a free consultation? Like, what do you want them to do next? And you need to dedicate a portion of your lead magnet to introducing that opportunity. Now, how in depth or robust that invitation needs to be depends on what it is. Okay. So if it's just simply join my Facebook group, well, you can just say, hey, I want to invite you to join my Facebook group where blah, 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 blah. You talk about who it's for and the value of being in the group and then a link to join, right? Because that's not a huge commitment. You don't have to do a ton of convincing, but you do need to make sure they understand the value of it and who it's for. But let's say that your call to action was to book a free consultation. Well, then you need a lot more explanation of why they should book it. What can you help them with? What's the value of it? Who should book a call and who shouldn't, right? And so how descriptive that call to action is depends on how big of a next step you want them to take, okay? But either way, you need to be specific about who it's for and why they should do it, what's in it for them. Okay, so those are the 5 questions you need to consider when you're deciding what your lead magnet should be. Let me recap really quick. Number 1, who, right? That's your audience. Number 2 is the what problem or challenge can you help them solve? Number 3 is where. Where are they in the journey to solving this problem? That one is super, super important, right? Put a star next to that, circle it, highlight it. 4 is how are you going to deliver the content? And what do you want them to do next? Okay. Now, lead magnets are an amazing tool to use to grow your email list very inexpensively, right? You're saying, I'll give you this free thing in exchange for your email. If you're running ads for it, if you have it on your website, if you post it in social, no matter what you do with it, it's a very low barrier to entry for them. And it's relatively cheap for you. So lead magnets are a great way to grow your list, but there are other ways to grow your list that are equally as good or maybe even better. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. This is a fantastic session. Have a great day, everyone.